Who are these people?
I wanted to bring some international story to people's attention. So, Iran submits a written response in nuclear deal talks. So, Tehran under hardline President Ibrahim Raisi. How do you say his last name? I forget. I think it's like Rasai or something like that. Something like that.
Maybe?
Has repeatedly tried to blame Washington for the delay in reaching an accord. So, this is by John Gambrell at the AP. So keep that in mind. AP sometimes is weird. So Iran said Tuesday, and this is from the UAP, the UAE AP specifically. Iran said Tuesday it submitted a written response to what has been described as a final roadmap to restore its touted nuclear deal with world powers. Iran's state-run IRNA news agency offered no details on the substance of its response, but suggested that Tehran still wouldn't take the EU mediated proposal, despite warnings there would be no more negotiations. The differences are on three issues in which the United States has expressed its verbal flexibility in two cases, but it should be included in the text, the IRNA report said. The third issue is related to guaranteeing the continuation of the deal, which depends on the realism of the United States. So, Tehran, under hardline President Ibrahim Raisi, has repeatedly tried to blame Washington for the delay in reaching an accord. Monday was reported to have been a deadline for Iran's response. Nabila Mizrahi, a spokesperson for the EU on foreign affairs and security policy, told the AP that the EU received Iran's response on Monday night. We were studying it and are consulting with the other JCPOA participants and the U.S. on the way ahead, she said, using an acronym for the formal name for the nuclear deal, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. So, the EU has been the go-between in the indirect talks as Iran refused to negotiate directly with America since then-President Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew the U.S. from the accord in 2018. From Washington, State Department spokesman Ned Price said the U.S. would share its own response to the EU. We do, however, with the EU's fundamental point, agree, however, with the EU's fundamental point, and that is that what could be negotiated has been negotiated, Price said. He added that Iran had been making unacceptable demands going beyond the text of the 2015 nuclear deal, which saw Iran drastically limit its enrichment of uranium in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. If Iran wants these sanctions lifted, they will need to alter the underlying conduct, Price said. They will need to change the dangerous activities that gave rise to these sanctions in the first place. As of the last public count, Iran has a stockpile of some 3,800 kilos of enriched uranium. Under the deal, Tehran could enrich uranium to 3.67% purity while retaining a stockpile of uranium of 300 kilos under constant scrutiny of surveillance cameras and international inspectors. So, Iran now enriches uranium up to 60% purity, a level it never reached before, and one that is a short technical step away from 90%. Non-proliferation experts warn Iran now has enough 60% enriched uranium to reprocess into fuel for at least one nuclear bomb. Meanwhile, the surveillance cameras have been turned off and other footage have been seized by Iran. However, Iran still would need to design a bomb and a delivery system for it, likely a months-long project. Tehran insists its program is peaceful, though the West and the International Atomic Energy Agency said Iran had an organized military nuclear program until 2003. So, thoughts, Collin?
So basically the West is afraid. Very afraid.
Yes. Yeah, and Tehran's like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Y'all are fucking this up. Right. You want the deal? This is what the deal is. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, which I love that. I love how it's just sneaky, like, passive-aggressive. Like, no, Like, you know, like, that's pretty much what it is. Like, which is great that our political, you know, and possibly global annihilation is just, you know,
because God forbid,
children running things.
We can't be the only ones that can nuke a country at a moment's notice.
God forbid. We're the only ones who've ever used it. God forbid that someone else might have them and do it to us. God forbid. We were like, hey, you think that thing we used is bad. Y'all don't use that.
Right.
But
So,
anyway.
yeah, that overall, that just kind of sums up my thoughts on it. It's like we well, America has the authority to blow you up, but be damned if you even attempt it,
Right.
like, especially given that you're in the Middle East,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's just kind of the hypocrisy there that I think is just amusing, but at the same time, it's kind of like, if you want to kind of talk about us and how we need to protect ourselves or whatever else, Iran has that same right too. Any country has that right to protect itself. So, like, if if you don't want that to happen, then maybe talk about like some type of, diplomacy, I don't know. Like,
Would be a smart move.
right. And Kelly's like, and yet Israel does exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
and the Saudis, and like they do whatever, know.
But
So
Iran, it's no, they can't. So it's like, shut up. They're like, if they have that right too, in the same way that we give ourselves that right,
right.
So whatever.
Yeah, but see, we're gonna apply economic sanctions on them if they don't. So
Right.
And they're like, like at this point, I'm betting they're like, whatever. We dealt with them already. Like, apparently economic sanctions in Iran are set to like do some pretty like bad shit as far as that's concerned, but like medicine and stuff like that we're not, but anyway,